Distinguished guests, respected dignitaries, esteemed academicians, fellow researchers, representatives from our sponsors and title partner, the Center for Research on International Trade, CRIT, our sponsor and knowledge partner, Springer, our academic partner, Aberystwyth University, UK, and the members from the media. A very warm welcome again to the Global Business Research Conference 2026. This landmark conference, themed Managing Business Amidst Worldwide Turbulence, is a confluence of thought leaders, policymakers, researchers, and practitioners with a shared commitment to excel in the field of management education amidst growing geopolitical turbulence. We have already had a stimulating start to the day with our Meet the Editors session, and I'm delighted to say that the rest of the day promises a much more enriching journey. We now begin one of the most awaited events of GBRC 2026, the Directors Conclaves, in which top academic leaders, including the Vice Chancellors and Directors of eminent institutions, will join as panelists in 4 different panel discussions on the future of management education in India and beyond. Our first conclave of the day, themed Internationalisation Strategies for B Schools, addresses a question that lies at the very heart of the future of management education. Ladies and gentlemen, in a world reshaped by geopolitical realignments, cross-border digital collaboration, and intensifying global competition for talent and ideas, the internationalization of business schools is no longer a matter of aspiration, it is a strategic imperative. But the question arises, what does it mean to internationalize business schools? What are its challenges? And what should be the strategies for emerging economy business schools to attract international students? How important are strategic partnerships and global alliances in all this? Or is it about building a curriculum, a culture, and a community that thinks beyond borders? These are precisely the questions our distinguished panelists would address today. Before I introduce our esteemed panelists, may I request our Vice Chancellor, Professor Rakesh Mohan Joshi, to kindly come on the dais to welcome the panelists. Sir, please allow me the privilege to introduce our esteemed panelists for this session. Moderating this discussion is Professor Dr. G Suresh, who is a senior journalist turned educator and currently the director of the India Habitat Center, New Delhi. He is the former Director General of the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi, and former Vice Chancellor of Makhanlal Chaturvedi National University of Journalism and Communication, Bhopal. We are truly honored to have him steer this conversation. We warmly request Professor Dr. G Suresh to kindly take his seat on the dais. He will be welcomed by our Honorable Vice Chancellor with a planter. Our first panelist, Dr. Pragya Paliwal Gaur, is a senior officer of the Indian Information Service, having most recently served as the Director General of Akashvani and the News Services Division. She now leads one of India's most prominent media institutions as the Vice Chancellor of the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi. We warmly welcome Dr. Pragya Paliwal Gaur to the dais. Our second panelist, Dr. Yashwant Singh Thakur, is the Vice Chancellor of one of India's prestigious central universities, Dr. Hari Singh Gaur Vishwavidyalaya, Sagar, Madhya Pradesh. We warmly welcome Dr. Yashwant Singh Thakur to the dais. Our third panelist is Shri Nishit Jain, the Senior Special Advisor Asia at EFMD Global, the European Foundation for Management Development, a globally recognized accreditation body for business schools, business school programs, and corporate universities. We warmly welcome Shri Nishit Jain to the dais. What a truly remarkable panel. A Vice Chancellor of a mass communication institution, a leader of a central university, a specialist in international affairs and a global accreditation expert. Each voice brings a unique and invaluable perspective to today's theme. We are very grateful to each of our panelists for making time to be with us today. Our other panelist is Professor Vishal Talwar, who's the Chief Operating Officer, University of Southampton, Delhi. May I please welcome you, sir, to the dais. I believe the stage is now perfectly set for what promises to be a rich, candid, and thought-provoking discussion. Without much ado, I now hand over the session to our distinguished moderator, Professor Dr. G Suresh, and look forward to the insights and perspectives that will follow. Professor Suresh, the floor is yours. We are all ears.
Thank you so much. Very good morning to all of you, all my dear fellow panelists, and the distinguished audience, and dear students. First of all, gratitude to Professor Rakesh Mohan Joshi for bringing us all together time and again. Earlier we had the Vice Chancellor's Conclave at the Bharat Mandapam to discuss important issues pertaining to standardization of higher education, internationalization of higher education. And today we have this very important theme specifically related to business schools. We all have been associated with, business school in one or the other capacity. I mean, for example, when I was the Vice Chancellor of Makhanlal Chaturvedi University, I had a hugely successful business media management department. Similarly, management has become, including strategic communication, is very integral to Indian Institute of Mass Communication, where Dr. Pragya Paliwal is the Vice Chancellor. So almost all of us in some or the other way are directly or indirectly connected to B schools. Now, particularly because this institution is affiliated to the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And rightfully, it is today holding this very important brainstorming session on globalization, how to attract global students, how to ensure that international practices are adopted by our own B schools. What are the challenges? For example, do the capacity of an IIFT, which is a deemed to be university under the center, will it have the same kind of facilities there for state universities which are offering management programs? Why B schools are more important than the other university? Is it something special? Well, if you ask me, history, political science, and many of the subjects of humanities or social sciences have a country-specific, background. Whereas business is across the world runs on certain principles. We may have an indigenous history as part of the Indian knowledge system, how we started, and we have some policies in, say, Arthashastra and others. But as a discipline, as a subject, I think globally we speak the same language. And that's where I believe that we need to focus on strategies to globalize our business schools, to ensure that, because we have some of the most successful ventures, international ventures, Indians, whether it is the Adani Group or the Tatas or the Birlas or the Ambanis, they have global ventures. Now, what is there for international students to learn from India? It's demography, it's, challenges as a massive country with resources, human resources. So India can be the rightful place where actually these global management students can come and learn, because if you succeed in India with all its diversity, I think that you have every reason to be successful in the rest of the world. Friends, I won't take much time. I think that I'll start the discussion today on, first we will talk about the present scenario, the challenges, and then towards the end, the solutions, and of course, we will have an open house also. That's how I plan it. We have roughly an hour's time. That's what I believe. So let me start with Pragya ji. Pragya ji, how do you, given the national education policy which focuses on internationalization of education, how do you look at B schools emerging as educational hubs for India, India becoming the educational hub of the world, or will we continue to cater to the poorer African countries or some Asian countries? When will we start attracting students not on scholarship alone? Scholarships are important. As a responsible, developing country, we have a policy of encouraging scholarships. But beyond scholarships, will students come here with their money? Will they invest it? What do you think is the current scenario, and how do you look at the challenges before us?
Thank you. A very good morning to all of you. First of all, I thank Professor Joshi for inviting me to his institute. We met at in a program in the Parliament, and then we are here. So thank you once again for inviting me, and also it's a privilege to be part of this distinguished panel. So a few words about Indian Institute of Mass Communication, especially with respect to the internationalization aspect. We came into existence in 1965, and it's a premier institution in the field of media and education, media and communication education. So if we see right from the beginning, and also I would like to say that amongst the panel, I am a non-management academic here, but of course my career and entire experience has been framed by what the world is seeing, the media world has been seeing throughout these years. And my inputs are based on those experiences only. So when talking about the IMC, right from the beginning we have been a part of this internationalization aspect. When we started, we had two board members, two members of UNESCO who were part of, Professor Suresh knows because he has been in IMC. Then within 4 years of its existence, we started a development journalism course where students from Afro-Asian countries, they used to take part, they used to come to IMC, have a 2-3 months training here, and then many of the countries when we meet our alumni, they are holding places of prominence in different countries, within their countries, and also in different ministries as well as private media enterprises. Also, our motto, the 𝐂𝐤-𝐤𝐴 that we have in IMC is Ano Bhadro Krito Yantu Vishwata, which means let noble thoughts come to us from all sides. So we all believe that from wherever we get knowledge, we have to accept it. And same applies to education also, what we are teaching, imparting to our students. We have several courses, of course, management courses also. We have recently launched one course on media and business management, then media business studies, strategic communication, of course, Professor Suresh mentioned about it. This year we are launching new courses on health communication, also on communication governance, and also corporate communication and brand management. So in a way we are also linked to, we can consider ourselves also to be a part of the business schools now that these programs have started. So when we talk of internationalization, what we see and whatever I speak is from the point of view of, and also from the importance of media and communication in the management institutions that we see. Nowadays we see that, entire business is global. Crises are global. Whatever is happening, it has its global implications. Similarly, the institutions also have their own global implications. And we see a reputation of one brand, if it is, affected in one country, the effect reaches to other countries as well. So in this age of global connectivity, and especially with the onset of, with this rapid expansion of digital media, we have to keep this in mind that all the institutions, business schools, they have to have components of media management and media communication as integral part of their curriculum, because it has very large impact on all your operations, whether it is finance, business, sales, because anything affecting or any narrative which has been created in the media about your product of any company, it impacts. It can be for good as well as it can be for bad also. So, how to prepare our future business students to, first of all, to create positive narratives, because if you don't create positive narratives on your own, the negative narratives will take prominence, and then it will be a tough fight for everyone to counter that negative narrative. So first is how to be ready with your positive narratives, what should be your media strategy, communication strategy. So first of all, I think just as the international universities have such courses, we should also have important component of media studies, including digital or traditional forms. Whatever is best for us, we have to adopt that strategy. Then we come to, secondly, how these are the challenges that we see in day-to-day life. Anything happening, if you take examples of Nestle or several other companies, I think you must be teaching case studies to students about how the negative narratives, they really transform or change your strategies to effectively project your brand. So here we have to incorporate this. Secondly, in the challenges, and then how do we counter it, I feel is that we have to have more case studies based studies in our curriculum rather than just focusing on theory. When we talk of the difference in international education systems and Indian educational systems, including the B schools also, we feel there should be more emphasis on practical orientation, and because in so many management institutes worldwide we are given live data, which many companies won't like to share. But then these companies benefit from the students when they do their case studies and come out with solutions. So these are the two areas which if we focus on, if the B schools focus on, I think we can move towards better and impactful internationalization.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Pragya. I believe that, as a student of communication myself, I believe that communication is integral to, whether it is business schools or for that matter, any aspect of our governance or education. Communication is critical. I mean, some unfortunate incident in some university involving foreign students, we have heard about what happened in Odisha and other parts. It has its international ramifications. I mean, yesterday an unfortunate blaze happens in South Delhi. Certainly it's going to have an impact on, how foreigners are safe in this country or not. So narratives are very important. And certainly case studies, it's no more about theories, it's about experiences, experiential learning, as they say. Thank you so much. And now I would like to get an international perspective from Professor Vishal Talwar, who is the Chief Operating Officer for the University of Southampton, one of the first universities to respond to the government's invitation to set up their campus in India. One thing often seen as I won't call it a criticism, but a critique of the foreign universities is that, that Indian students go abroad for the experience, for the exposure. Why should they go to a foreign university located out of Gurgaon or Faridabad to get that? Because their basic idea is to get the exposure and experience. The second thing is that Indian universities have also set up campuses abroad, but they tend to largely attract students from NRI community rather than the locals. What gives you that confidence that, as the University of Southampton, that what is it in that internationalization process to ensure that while you give them exposure to the best practices, the world over, what would be uniquely Indian about whether it is your course curriculum or your ambience, if you can just throw some light on that.
Thank you very much, sir. I think that's a very, very valid question. And I would link up the answer with what ma'am was talking about, right? And you asked that question about challenges. So I think, with the new education policy, with the impetus that has been created, there's a lot of focus, obviously, on, let's say, globalizing education in the Indian context, but also ensuring that a lot of international students benefit from a lot of Indian problem solution systems, right? I mean, there's so much. We got 1.4 billion people, and automatically that also means that there are 1.4 billion stories to be told. The way we've tackled distribution challenges, the way we've tackled COVID, the way we've tackled UPI. I think what India essentially needs, and this is what we believe as a university system, is the ability to not just be a part of the Indian context, but also from a global perspective, right? So what does the advent of, let's say, international campuses come into the country, what does it provide? When I say that, I also respectfully mentioned here that the Indian higher education ecosystem has contributed a great deal, not just to India, but to the rest of the world as well. If you look at the concentration of CEOs that exist all across the world, I think a lot of focus, let's say, on STEM, a lot of focus on, some of the other courses, management courses, humanities, everything has contributed a great deal to the kind of resonance that India and Indian leadership has in different parts of the world. Now, where is it that a foreign university can add value, right? It can add value from a perspective of, let's say, a global thought process. I would also call it as part of the governance norms, the pedagogies, the interdisciplinary orientation, the student support frameworks, right? So it's about, it's not just about what's happening in the classroom, it is also about what's happening outside, how well-being is being taken care of, how assessment standards are being looked at, how global curriculums are being contextualized in the Indian context, which is related to what, you talked about. So it's not just about the extension, a true transnational education, needs to be able to contextualize to the country it belongs to. You can't obviously be truly global if you're not part of India, but then how do you contextualize, like ma'am was talking about, the storytelling, the cases, the simulation, a lot of all this which is very, very popular in business schools, and also what is popular in practically orientated management institutions is how do you then bring in the practice into the classroom. So there's a lot of different benefits that structural advantages that international campuses working alone as well as working along with other universities in India can do. I think the other is this thing about the research ethos. It's this thing about, how do you create blended ecosystems wherein teaching and research or just research itself can be integrated, can be incorporated into Indian mindsets. I think a lot of these elements, along with certain structures around what I would call as workplace advantages. So right now, if you're trying to attract international students into the country, and this is one big objective of the new education policy, currently we are at about 35, 40 odd thousand students across India who are from international quarters and coming into the country. If you want to really benefit from a larger base to happen, I think it will have to be not just about the education ecosystem, it will also have to be working very closely with the ministries to be able to incorporate aspects such as how do you create work experience initiatives? How do you ensure that what they're learning in the classroom can also be helpful from a practice standpoint, right? What they go back, when they go back to their own countries, they're able to implement a lot of these things, right? So those kind of measures will need to be important. Coming back to the earlier question that you asked me about how do you create that global experience, how do you create a global mindset? I think global experiences is about obviously the extension of curriculums, contextualizing those curriculums, being very, very, let's say, conscious of the fact that, the global curriculum also has to be, treated from a local standpoint as well. What are we building? We're building leaders who are globally aware, but at the same time very conscious from an Indian perspective as well. how do you build the globalism? You build the globalism by having a good base of faculty who have been part of international experiences, who've been part of, let's say international pedagogies, who've been part of, let's say either being trained, right? And I mentioned part of the faculty. I'm not saying all the faculty. I'm saying, are trained in particular methodologies, right? They also need to be part of the system, and that's once again a big objective of the Indian ministries and the UGC and everyone else. How do you bring in a lot of the talent here into the country, work along with Indian talent, and then create that objective of reaching the Viksit Bharat 2047 objective? So you also build in partly exchange experiences, right? So your university actually offers the ability to go across for a particular period of time for the students to the international campuses, be a part of that, actually work on projects and problem solutions along with international campuses. Southampton's got campuses in the UK, Malaysia, as well as India. How do you integrate a lot of the learning experience into the classroom are all objectives to be able to, let's say, create that objective of globalism, but in an Indian context.
Thank you so much. Very important, point about contextualizing the entire curriculum syllabus, and of course the student supports it. But I would be keen, I will come back to you, I would be keen to know what kind of, because one of the attractions, let's accept it, let's face it, is placement, and placement is something that will the University of Southampton, or for that matter the foreign universities, would be offering international placements and internships. Will that be the attraction for the students? I would be keen to know. Let me now, go to Dr. Yashwant Singh Thakur. He comes from one of the leading universities in Madhya Pradesh, where I was also working, and I was a member of your EMRC, and it has produced some of the, leading lights. But Professor, I wanted to know that when you do QS rankings and global educational rankings, there are certain parameters like number of international students, number of international faculty. These are the parameters where Indian universities lack. So they are not able to make it big time in the, global rankings. Now, can a state university or a central university for that matter afford, or is our focus on infrastructure development, on, faculty, rather than going for internationalization? So in that kind of a scenario, for a central university, how do you look at, internationalization? Are we going to be just relying on exchange programs or, scholarships offered under the ITEC program of Ministry of External Affairs, like Professor Paliwal talked about, earlier IMC used to have that. It was under the ITEC program of MEA. Now, what is the kind of, strategy you would be looking at?
All the distinguished guests here, thanks to Rakesh Mohan Joshi ji for getting us all together. Especially we all, like Rakesh Mohan Joshi, Mukul Gupta and myself are alumni of Poddar Institute of Management. Mukul is my senior, Rakesh Mohan Joshi is my junior. So 3 people are here from Poddar, so it was nice meeting them. And as regards the internationalization is concerned, now it's really startling to know that the number of students going abroad and the foreign exchange they are spending and studying abroad is almost equivalent to the education budget of India. These people are taking loans from the banks, they are working there to repay the loans. Now, I was a member of the team to represent the new education bill in front of the Joint Parliamentary Committee, and the question which Mr. Paliwal has raised, I had raised in front of the GBC also. I said for the Indian universities to go global, you have to give them a lot of autonomy. There are so many rules which are not conducive to going international. So, one of the members said that, why should you go international? You should bring up quality in our country also. So my answer to that member was like, it's very, very imperative that to go international and setting up a campus abroad is very, very expensive and the break-even time is very high. What we can do is we can bring up our education to the international standards, and we can only do that, like for example, in a place like Sagar or Bilaspur, we have a Department of Business Management. I also completed my MBA from B School. So we can have about 25% professors from the world-class business schools or good business schools from abroad who will be teaching for one semester. So what they are expecting for the in the international school, they will be getting here. That autonomy the university has to have to define the salary of these people, because they can't come to the our university at the level of the salary of a professor. So the institutions have to have the autonomy to bring about 25 to 30% faculty from abroad. They stay here for one semester, it will be offline or online courses which we offer. Second thing is students go abroad because they get the hand-on working experience. They work part-time and pay their loans, and the placement also is also very good. So we have to have, first of all, the hand-on experience. That means one semester in a whole year should be dedicated to industry. Go out to the industry, work with the people in the industry, so that they are employable to the industry. Now what is happening in mostly all the government universities, there is a syllabus, and the Board of Studies members are all academicians. They don't know what the industry is expecting out of them. So the syllabus should be tuned to the needs of the industry first. What the industry wants, you keep it that in the syllabus. In and out, we are repeating the syllabus, making some small changes in that. So that is not done. First of all, you have to cater to the needs of the industry so the students get placement. For that, you have to have industry people on board the Board of Studies and schools, school boards. Another thing is the twinning program is very important, in the sense that our students, once, like mostly some IIMs have it, our students in central universities or state universities go to foreign countries for one semester. They get that exposure for one semester. They work there also, and then they have that global feeling that they know something and they can stand in competition with the international students. That is one of the factors. Another thing is, it is very, very important to have the, work ethics or the work honor among the students. What is happening is, if a student, father is having a business and he is asked to go for training, he will not sit with his father for 2 months also in handling the own business. He wants to go to Delhi or Bombay and go for training there, in which the corporate gives some title, some vague title, and they can go train. So the startup and the business venture is very, very important. For that, people, the students do not want to work in the business in which their father is there. Say for example, we went to a village in a Rotary program and we asked one of the farmers, how many sons you have? And he said 3. I said, how many acres of land you have? He said 40 acres. Now how many acres you have? He said 20 acres. We asked him what happened to the other 20 acres. He said the eldest son, I sent him to the university for MA. And after MA, he said he wanted a government job. So I had to spend 10 lakh rupees to get him a government job. The same thing happened with the second son. He went to the university and he wanted a government job. Another 10 lakhs gone. So I have 20 acres of land left with me. So I said, what about the third son? He said he was studying in 9th. I told him not to go to school now, handle my agriculture business. What I am trying to say is, the traditional business needs professionals, which the business is not getting. All these people, they want to go out and work for some multinational, for some corporate, for some small salary. Because the work ethics or the work honor is not there in India. In the same scenario, when they go abroad, they'll work for McDonald's, they will drive a truck, they will drive a taxi. They'll do all jobs, but they will not do it in India. So that, for going international, you have to bring that work ethics to the work honor among the students. So internationalization is very, very good in the sense that with the policy of the liberalization, privatization, globalization, education has to go international. And for B schools, the quality of education has to go up to international standards. The experts which I have just said, the case discussions, going on to the industry, revival of the Sikh industries in the state or town by the management students, these have to come into focus. Then only the students will learn practically what is happening on the ground. So, another thing is, foreign universities, they can come to India, collaborate with the Indian universities, and then with the inputs received from the foreign universities, that Indian institution can also grow. They'll put in capital, it'll be a collaboration.
Yes.
So that is what is my views on internationalization.
Thank you, Dr. Thakur. Very valid suggestions. Particularly, you see, having participation from the industry on the board of studies. In fact, I would go a step further. In this technological era, why is it difficult for us not to have people, international members in the board of studies? You know, we need not spend a fortune to get them in India. They can join online, and many, senior professors internationally would be too happy to be on the boards of our, B schools, our management departments. And of course, the dignity of labor, that's one issue I had raised last time also. That attitude, that has to be an attitudinal shift. We have received information that the Honorable Minister may come anytime, so we need to wind this up. So, last but not the least, my friend Nishit, Nishit, I would be, we have been looking at problems, you see, for so long, and some suggestions certainly have come. But is it only about the IIM? Certainly, we are proud of our IIMs. Are we going to see more Indian institutions ranked globally among the top media schools? And what needs to be done? What has been your, personal, perspective? How can we, and what the government needs to do, and what institution need to do?
Thank you, Professor Suresh, and thank you, Professor Joshi, for putting this panel together. Just to give you the context a little bit, EFMD has been batting for international since its inception, almost 7 decades ago, when European Union kind of initiated this whole concept of accreditation with a twofold mandate: one, to be global, and second, to be as close to the corporate world as it can be. With that genesis, I think we've come a long way over the decades, and some of the things that I think has benefited, while we are present in over 100 countries, I can tell you that international has its own merit. Now, what international is often mistaken is that we end up in mobility. We say about counting passports or looking at how many international faces do we have. But I think the world has evolved. And I can tell you, with reference to the recent policy update also on the EFMD General Assembly, which was announcing and highlighting 3 core pillars of how you can look at internationalization. The first one being purpose. Second one being context, and we talked about enough on that. And the third being global mindset. Now, purpose, when I would say, is extremely crucial, because every institution, every player has its own purpose, and it should not be imitated with the West or the Europe or elsewhere, because what makes you unique, which is aligned with your own mission, with your own governance, with your own resources, is meaningful. And when you look at the global mindset, I think what we are trying to say that every person, whether it is graduating with an international experience or whether it is graduating from an Indian classroom, has to have a global mindset. Why? Because not every student will go, like Professor mentioned, overseas as an exchange or even for a semester abroad or maybe a further degree. But they have to be working in an environment which is very well globally connected. Today, look at the geopolitics situation. I mean, irrespective of wherever you work, wherever you've been to, you need to have that understanding, you need to have that cognizance of what it is to be in an international context. So therefore, that global mindset training is essential. How you could do that? You could bring in AI. We just had, a session before. We can have technology. We've been talking about technology-enabled learning for a long time. We have enough and more global corporates in India. We need to align better with them and have them onboarded into our curriculum, not just the Indian corporates, but also the global. See, everybody brings their own cultural value and cultural perspectives. Then also, what we have been also looking at is a trend that partnerships should never be measured by the number of MOUs and also the location. Most of the partnerships, today we are sitting in IIFT. Let's, check by a dipstick that what are the partnerships. The moment you talk about partnerships, we have a XYZ partners in US, such and such partners in Europe. How many partners do you have in Malaysia? How many partners do you have in Thailand? How many partners do you have in Korea, in Japan, in East, in Asia? So we have to see from a perspective that the center of the world is shifting from a global perspective beyond the West and the Europe. And we have to also be looking at maturing and creating some partnerships within Asia to Asia. And that will drive a lot of impetus. Also, when you talk about globalization, we are not just talking about globalization of the mobility again, but also of the infrastructure, of the faculty development, of the research, of the resources, of the technology that we use in the ecosystem. That have to be globally benchmarked if you really want to be a global institution, if you really want to be a global player. To answer some bit, you talked about Southampton bringing that experience. I think what they are trying to differentiate is not just about having the foreign institution in India, but also bringing in that entire experience of what it is to study in a global ecosystem, which is very well connected and is of the best benchmark practices in that ecosystem. So some of these things will really transform. And I would also argue the fact that internationalization should never be a start and an end. It is a continuous process. So in order to have a continuous process, the core word is strategy. How many of us as an institution have a core strategy of internationalization, which is point A to B, B to C, C to D? The moment you put the word strategy, you automatically bring in resources. Resources which are people resources, financial resources, time-bound approach, accountability. And when all of these kicks in, you will be able to see the KPIs, you'll be able to measure, and that's what leads to something called accreditation. And the moment you have the accreditation, which is of global relevance, you automatically have not just a good benchmarking, but also a global visibility and a global passport or a global visa. Because there are more than 14,000 institutions that we directly work with, but how many of us even know those countries, forget the names of the institution? The fact that you have that accreditation allows you to kind of transversally intersect and also be recognized in that elite or at least the value-based institutions around the world.
Thank you so much, Nishit. And it was a very refreshing perspective, that it should not be the counting of passports or the presence of international faces that should define internationalism. And certainly, it's the benchmarking of the, the curriculum, the syllabus, that's more important. And it's a process. It should not be a kind of a destination as such for us. I would certainly, because we just have 5 minutes left, very quickly, I would like to have Southampton's take on placements. And last but not the least, I would say that maybe, an idea can come up from this brainstorming is that I remember when we tried to implement national education policy in 2020 when it was announced. at my university, we had absolutely no benchmarks, no hand-holding support. We did it by getting some people from the NEP drafting committee on board. We did it by looking at the references, compared to the higher education in the state and the UGC norms. It took us a couple of years to stabilize. Maybe some kind of a hand-holding, on the part of the government towards internationalization can be there, and maybe institutions like EFMD can play a pivotal role in that. And maybe the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade can be the nodal for that. I think we need to work out on something that is going to be the outcome of this conference. So over to you.
So I'll just take 2 minutes. One comment on the rankings piece. If you look at deconstructing the rankings for a lot of very good business schools across the ranks, whether it's QS or whether it's FT or whatever, you would notice that a lot of them are actually doing very well in the alumni engagement and alumni outcomes. So that's about 53-54% of what they do. Where they are, let's say, placed towards the end of the ranking in the top 100 will be around the faculty, internationalism, as well as even the research element. So if you deconstruct the rankings, they've done very well because I think 55% of the rankings based on alumni outcomes. So that's why obviously they're doing very well. So coming back to the earlier point about placement. So we're very mindful at Southampton that, placement, career outcomes, employability is a major focus, in the Indian context. If you look at Western models of employability or how it is treated, it's quite different. But we were very mindful in the Indian context. Right from day zero, we had career advancement services to ensure that there's holistic development of the students beyond the classroom, as well as outcomes as far as placements, internships, internship-linked placements are concerned, and that's already bearing fruit for us.
Thank you so much. It was a race against time, but we had a very fruitful discussion. I'm sure the deliberations would come handy in taking the mission of internationalization of higher education, and particularly of B schools, would certainly go forward in the days to come. Thank you once again, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of IIFT, for facilitating this, and thank you each one of the distinguished panelists for sharing their perspective. Thank you so much.
Thank you, panelists. I believe we all have just been part of a conversation that will stay with us for a long time. I would now request Professor Rakesh Mohan Joshi, our Vice Chancellor, to kindly felicitate our esteemed panelists with a memento as a token of gratitude and formally close the session. I may request Professor Joshi to first hand it over to the moderator of the session, Professor Mr. G Suresh. To Dr. Pragya Paliwal Gaur. To Dr. Yashwant Singh Thakur. To Professor Vishal Talwar. And Shri Nishit Jain.
So Ajay, thank you so much. So we had a great session, and with the illuminaries in the world of academics. So I think thank you so much.